Notice is hereby given of the regular meeting of the Board of Education of the Town of Westfield in the County of Union, New Jersey, at 8 p.m. on the evening of Tuesday, March 6, 2012, in the boardroom of the Administration Building, 302 Elm Street, Westfield, New Jersey. The purpose of the meeting is to transact such business as may properly come before the Board. This is to advise the general public and to instruct that it be recorded in the minutes that in compliance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, entitled the Open Public Meetings Act, the Westfield School Board on Friday, March 2nd, 2012, caused to be posted at the Office of the Board of Education, located at 302 Elm Street, Westfield, New Jersey, and delivered to the Westfield Leader, the Star Ledger, the Westfield Library, Town Clerk of Westfield, Alternative Press, and Patch.com, a meeting notice setting forth the time, date, and location of this meeting. Mitch, could we do a roll call?
Yes. Mr. Matesic?
Here.
Mr. Finn?
Here.
Ms. Carey?
Here.
Mrs. Clancy?
Here.
Mr. Friedman?
Here.
Ms. Kerstad?
Here.
Mrs. Lights?
Here.
Mr. Slater? Mrs. Oleg?
Here.
Okay, will you lead us in the flag?
Please join me. The flag salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Announcements. Okay, announcements. Gretchen, anything?
I do. I have a couple. Sherry Cronin, president of the Westfield Rotary Club, announced that Friday, March 30th, is the deadline for nominations for the 20th Annual Charles Philhauer Fellowship Award, designated for a full-time elementary teacher in Westfield Public Schools. Letters of nomination are invited from interested citizens, students, and Westfield Public School staff members, and should be addressed to the Charles Philhauer Fellowship Committee of the Westfield Rotary Club, care of the Office of the Superintendent of Schools, 302 Elm Street, Westfield, New Jersey, 07090, or alternatively emailed to rotaryphilhauer@westfieldnjk12.org. The second announcement I have is that 2 Jefferson Elementary School students have placed 1st and 6th in the Central Regional Spelling Bee, sponsored by the New Jersey State Federation of Women's, held on February 25th in Kearney, I'm not from New Jersey. Kearney. Sorry, I apologize. New Jersey. After 13 rounds and 2 spell-offs, Entomb, E-N-T-O-M-B, was the winning word. Our very own winners include, first place was Ronnie Maleo, who's in 5th grade at Jefferson, and Valerie Chang was 6th place, who's a 4th grader at Jefferson. Congratulations to these Jefferson School spelling winners.
Okay, and I have 2 announcements as well. First one is about intermediate fine arts. Roosevelt Intermediate School will be performing Peter Pan on Thursday, March 23rd, and Friday, March 24th at 7:30, and on Sunday, March 25th at 2 p.m. This all-time favorite musical will be sure to delight audiences of all ages. And the second one is about Youth Art Month. The Westfield Public Schools are celebrating the nationally acclaimed Youth Art Month with colorful and creative displays throughout the downtown area. Paintings, drawings, sculpture, and painted furniture designed by approximately 300 students from Westfield's 10 public schools are displayed by 40 downtown merchants, as well as the Westfield Memorial Library, who volunteered their window space for the month of March. In coordination with Youth Art Month, RMC Studios in Garwood and Hip Thrift and Art Gallery in Westfield each are hosting an open house for the general public to view student artwork in unique gallery settings. The evening of art and music at RMC at 27 Center Street in Garwood will be held on Friday, March 9th from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Youth Art Month artwork will be on display throughout the studio, while RMC's music instructors and rock shop students are performing. The Hip Thrift and Art Gallery at 407 South Avenue in Westfield will hold an open house to display student artwork on Thursday, March 15th from 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Special education. Every year, the Special Education Committee sponsors an awareness expo consisting of multiple workshops presented by the professional community. The expo is open to the public and free of charge. This year's expo will be held on March 21st at Edison Intermediate School and will begin at 7 p.m. And then I have another. Athletics. Congratulations to Glenn Kurtz, our head wrestling coach, who was named the Union County Coach of the Year and NJSIAA District 6 Coach of the Year as well. Congratulations.
And mine is Fine Arts at the high school. The high school drama department will present the musical Pippin on March 8th, 9th, and 10th at 7:30 p.m. Approximately 125 students have been working for 3 months to bring the show to life. To quote the director, Mr. Devlin, the show is one part medieval morality play, one part dance spectacular, and one part 70s comedy. The cast includes 50 actors, and the crew, 65 student technicians who work on stage management, lights, sound, costumes, makeup, and set design, and an additional 20 or so students will work on show nights as ushers. The production, of course, would not be possible without our drama teacher, Dan Devlin, the set designer, Roy Chambers, and our resident sound expert, Kevin Johnson, who is probably here somewhere. As the show is a musical, sound is very important, and the drama department is always in need of more and better equipment. I'd like to ask Lisa Smelkinson, president of the Theater Guild, who is here with us tonight, to come to the podium to present the board with a gift.
I'm sorry, I didn't have time to wrap it. Thank you so much for the privilege of speaking briefly tonight on behalf of the Westfield Theater Guild. As Ann said, the Westfield High School Theater Department is going to be presenting Pippin this weekend. Reserved seats are still available, and you can get them by emailing whstickets@westfieldnjk12.org or calling 908-233-0563. I'm really here tonight representing the Westfield Theater Guild, which is a 501c3 not-for-profit corporation that was founded last year to help support Westfield High School drama and musical productions. Tonight, through the generosity of our supporters, I brought a check with me from the Guild to the BOE in the amount of $5,260 for the purchase of microphones, transmitters, receivers, and sound cards that will be used immediately to enhance the sound quality for Pippin and be used subsequently for all future arts presentations on the Westfield High School stage. Since last year, the Guild has gifted a total of $11,000 to the Westfield BOE for the Westfield High School Drama Department. We're very excited to have the support of the community for this. A secondary goal of the Guild is to create additional performance opportunities for aspiring artists at the high school. This year, as Ann said, Pippin boasts a strong cast of 50. However, approximately 150 students auditioned for the show. Elite choral groups at the school are also by audition only. The Guild hopes to fulfill a need for more options that unfortunately can't be funded by the school budget. We want to be there for the students who are serious about careers in the performing arts, but also those students who enjoy singing in the shower. We're working to offer non-audition, non-judged, and non-competitive events open to all students where performance is just about having great fun. We accomplished that goal last year with Mayhem, our non-judged variety show that featured singers, stand-up comedy, lots of ukuleles, and even a klezmer band. I had the pleasure of working with student volunteers who organized and ran the show. These same students are currently helping to plan Mayhem 2012 for Saturday, May 12th at the high school. These students were responsible for everything from creating a Mayhem Facebook group to developing program and poster artwork, conceptualizing and creating the set design, coordinating lights and sound, and stage managing the entire production. Their sense of ownership of the event and their excitement helped create a really magical evening. The camaraderie and pure joy on stage is something that we all look forward to replicating again this year. In my opinion, participating in fine arts activities feeds the soul. The Westfield Theater Guild is truly grateful to be a small part of something wonderful that benefits the students of Westfield in so many different ways. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That's great.
like to come?
Yes.
I have an announcement from the Education Fund. The Education Fund of Westfield is holding its annual wine tasting and auction fundraiser on Saturday, April 21st, 2012, beginning at 7:30 p.m. at Echo Lake Country Club in Westfield. Enjoy light dinner, live music, and entertainment. Tickets are $75 per person. Please go to www.westfieldnj.com/edfund to purchase them. A confirmation email will be sent to you when your request and payment are received. Tickets go quickly, so purchase yours early. The Education Fund of Westfield regularly provides grants to teachers and administrators throughout the district to support advancements in teaching technology, reading and language programs, the arts, and many other areas, thus enriching the education of Westfield's children. The Ed Fund has donated more than $300,000 in support of our teachers in schools over the past 20 years.
Okay, and now from the Technology Department. Spring begins the week of March 18th, and here in the Westfield Public Schools, we are designating it Spring into Technology Week. The public will have the opportunity to view examples of how technology is woven into our curriculum at all levels. Short videos of students using technology in our classrooms will be posted on our website at westfieldnjk12.org/video and aired on TV 36 beginning March 18th for several weeks. Also during the Spring into Technology Week, our PTOs will be conducting fundraising, which will be targeted to help upgrade technology in our high school. We continue to focus on technology for the entire district as part of our strategic plan, and we thank our principals, teachers, students, parents, and TV 36 for helping us celebrate and update our schools for the 21st century.
From the Westfield High School. 8 Westfield High School seniors have been named finalists in the National Merit Scholarship Program. They are Thomas Edwards, Leonidas Tolius, Brian Vanderschaff, Hannah Margolin, Kathleen Tang, Gina Gao, you guys may need to help me with one, Nicholas Zaharodny, and Catherine Jaruzelski. Thank you. These students, who were originally named semifinalists in the fall, represent less than 1% of U.S. high school seniors and include the highest scoring entrants in each state in the preliminary SAT National Merit Scholarship qualifying test. So congratulations.
All right, I have 2 announcements. The first is that the next Board of Education meeting will be held next Tuesday, March 13th at 8 o'clock at 302 Elm Street. The agenda will include a continued discussion of the 2012-2013 budget. My second announcement is a little more exciting, so I'm going to use the podium. Tonight we are honoring Westfield's high school's girls and boys swim teams. They're here with us tonight. The teams are represented by varsity swimmers tonight, who we have the privilege of congratulating personally. All of you varsity members contributed to the Public A State Championship on February 26th at the College of New Jersey, where you swept dramatic victories. That was a grand finale to a season filled with success stories. Our girls' team finished the season without a single loss and an 18-0 record. You were the #1 team in the state for the second straight season, a feat rarely accomplished in the public school sector. You won the county championship, the North 1 sectional title, and the Public A state championship. This represents the 14th state title in the program's history. And your speed, which I understand is called PowerPoints, was over 5,000, reached for only the 4th time in state history. Let's give a round of applause to the entire Westfield High School girls swim team. But that's not it. The Westfield High School boys swim team. demonstrated speed and skill throughout the season and PowerPointed the highest in Westfield boys swimming history. After finishing the season with a solid 16-2 record, you captured the county title, the North 1 sectional title, and the Public A state championship. Your team is credited with winning the 23rd state title in the history of the boys program and distinguished Westfield as the most successful boys program in state history with the greatest number of state titles by any one team. Congratulations on this honor. Let's also give a round of applause to the entire Westfield High School boys swim team. And now, as I call out the name of each of our varsity swimmers, if you would please come up and accept a certificate of appreciation from the Westfield Board of Education, and please just come up along the side wall. Lauren Ball. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Jessica Cronin. Congratulations. Krista Huber. Congratulations. Great job. Kelly Kalis. Congratulations. Maeve Maloney. Congratulations. Megan Myers. Emily Smith. Congratulations. Katie Yamano. Congratulations. Alex Bond. Brennan Haley. Ryan Hobson. Not here? All right. Ren Keating. Congratulations. Thank you. Rich O'Connor. Not here. Congratulations. Kevin Oster. Matt Trinkle. And Tim York. There you have the Westfield High School boys and girls swim team champions. I would be remiss if we did not congratulate your coach, Jeff Knight. If you'd like to say a few words.
I'll keep this brief. I just wanted to thank the board, the school administration, and particularly the town for all the support that you've given this team, not just this year, but every year. These are young men and women that are not only excellent in the pool, but they're even better out of it, and they've continued to represent, how I believe they should represent the town, and they've done it in a really outstanding way. I know I'm very proud of them, and I think the way they have acted, the town should be proud of as well. It's been an honor to coach them, and these are all seniors, so I'm very sad to see all of them go. So, thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you again. I know you spend a lot of time practicing swimming, so don't feel compelled to spend any time. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Maybe. Huh? Yeah, there. Sandy told me that they were going to speak.
All right, we have one more announcement.
I just wanted to, since we mentioned Pippin and the Roosevelt Show, I would be remiss if we didn't also mention the show at Edison, which is March 15th, 16th, and 17th. And I've been living with the evil stepmother for the past 3 months, also known as my daughter Emma. They're performing Cinderella. So I just thought I'd get a plug in for the Edison show as well. Thanks.
Good.
Thanks.
All right, that's announcements. Recognize the public for agenda items only at this time. Seeing no one, we go to the superintendent's report.
Yes, and tonight, our focus is going to be on facilities, and as you will see, this is actually a multifaceted report on facilities. So to start off with, I believe I'm turning it first to Mrs. Clancy, who is the chair of the Facilities Committee for the board.
Thank you. Good evening again. Before Mr. Yanero presents the district's building and grounds budget report, I would like to provide you all with a little background information regarding our facilities. The Westfield School District has 902,000 square feet of rooms, hallways, and stairwells, and 75 acres of playgrounds and fields. With an average house size of 2,500 square feet and on about a quarter acre of land, that's approximately 361 homes and 300 yards to rake, mow, and maintain. The average age of our facilities is 73 years old. The oldest original building is McKinley, built in 1906, and the newest original building is Tamaquis, built in 1961. The majority of the maintenance and repairs is handled by our own buildings and grounds staff. They work hard to keep our facilities fully functional and operational and have been proactive in preventative maintenance as well, keeping as many emergency situations at bay as possible. Also keep in mind that not only are our buildings, playgrounds, and fields utilized by our 6,288 students during school hours, we also have constant activities and programs running in and on them after school and year-round. This includes after-school extracurricular activities as well as programs like the Adult School, Scouts, and Adult and Children recreational programs. Our gyms and fields especially feel the effects of the heavy usage. One of the greatest challenges the district has faced is the ability to save money for large capital projects and improvements. Several years ago, the state took away school districts' ability to set aside any more than 2% of its budget in its reserve fund balance. This prevents us from being able to build up savings to do any major repairs or improvements. We have also recently been given an annual budget cap of 2% and seen a significant loss in state aid. And we have all felt the tough times of the economy, which has caused a decrease in available outside resources, grant funding as an example. In spite of the budget constraints, we must continue to do our best to provide our students and staff with a safe and well-maintained environment. The Facilities Committee has spent a considerable amount of time prioritizing short and long-term facility needs of the district. We have constantly worked on ways to be resourceful and creative in saving money and restricting our spending. Several successful ways we have done so has been through our energy management plan, sharing services with the town, working with several county co-ops, and always being on the lookout for any possible grant opportunities. Mr. Yanero will be giving an update on our research into solar. This discussion began as a potential way to replace our aging and leaky roofs, as well as benefit from solar energy efficiency and additional cost savings. Because the entire district has worked hard to contain costs, last year the district was able to put money into the maintenance reserve account. Tonight's report will include facilities recommendations to address some of the immediate needs of the district. Unfortunately, this does not cover all of our needs, but it does help to shorten the list. After the presentation tonight, as always, we will be looking for input and guidance from the administration, the full board, and the public. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr.
Okay.
Yanero.
Thank you, Mrs. Clancy. With 12 buildings and over 900,000 square feet of building space, we have an extensive buildings and grounds operation. I'd like to take a look at the budget this year in comparison with next year. And it is broken, we break it into two parts, the operating portion and the energy, the piece for energy. The operating portion supports the salaries of 42 custodians and 11 maintenance workers. It includes the supplies and equipment for the maintenance and cleaning of our buildings and the care of our grounds. We also take a number of preventative maintenance measures each year to help reduce the amount of equipment repairs and maintenance. We do almost all of our work in-house, we're proud of that, as opposed to hiring outside contractors, which is much more cost-effective. When we do use outside contractors, whenever possible, we use purchasing co-ops, cooperatives, and thus get very good prices. We also work very cooperatively with the town in terms of sharing equipment and staff. Looking at the energy portion, this portion of our budget funds the cost of natural gas for heating our buildings and electricity. We have entered into an extensive and aggressive energy management program over the past 5 years, which has saved the district over $1.6 million. We purchase both gas and electricity through a cooperative purchasing program with a number of other school districts and thus receive considerable cost savings. In fact, the prediction next year is that there will be no rate increases for either gas or electricity. Looking at major maintenance projects completed this year by school. At the high school, we repaved the parking lot. We replaced a small roof over Gym 5. We replaced 400 aging and lockers in disrepair. At Edison, we repaved a number of parking lots. We replaced a small roof over the girls' locker room. Roosevelt, we repaved the parking lot. We sealed and waterproofed the brickwork. Jefferson, we repaved the parking lot. Tamaqua, we repaved a portion of the parking lot. At Wilson, we repaved the driveway and playground area, and at Washington, we repaved the driveway and courtyard. Total cost was about $368,000. Looking ahead at major maintenance projects that we intend to fund starting this summer, we're replacing the boilers at Franklin and McKinley schools. These are the worst boilers in the district and badly in need of replacement. We're renovating 2 bathrooms at Edison School, again, badly in need of renovation and in disrepair. We're replacing a portion of the Edison windows. This represents the final stage of the Edison window replacement. Following this, all of the windows will be reasonably new. We're also replacing the high school stage rigging at a recommendation of an architect. We're replacing a portion of the high school lockers. This will be the second phase of what we did this past summer. It'll be a 4-stage process. We're replacing the Roosevelt gym bleachers, again in disrepair. We also have a number of HVAC, that's heating, ventilating, and air conditioning upgrades in our district. This is primarily related to upgrading our heating controls for efficiency, for more consistent temperatures in our schools, and for energy conservation. We also have a number of miscellaneous major repairs, including replacing floor tiles, replacing some chimneys, masonry repairs, driveway repairs, and gutter replacements. That total is $2,261,000. Through the efforts of our staff and the funding levels approved by the board over a number of years, our buildings are well maintained, and I can attest to that, having been in a number of school districts over my career. However, there is one major area of our maintenance program that we have had a difficult time funding the extensive cost of maintaining our roofs for a number of years. Mrs. Clancy noted the problems we have encountered in her introduction. We will talk more about that in a few minutes. Realizing our roofs needed attention, the district began a few years ago investigating ways of funding needed roof repairs. One option considered, based on experiences of other school districts in previous years, was to contract with the solar firm to install solar panels on our roofs and repair the roofs under the panels at no cost to the board. The contractor would realize electricity savings generated by the panels and would be able to take advantage of generous state reimbursements. In November 2010, we issued requests for proposals, or RFPs, to potential contractors. A number of contractors responded, but after inspecting our roofs, they declined to submit a proposal since they believed it to not be cost-effective. We went back to the drawing board, revising the RFP to give potential contractors more flexibility and options. In August 2011, we went out to RFP again. Once again, we received no proposals, but were permitted at this time to negotiate with interested contractors. We did so with one contractor for a number of months, but it became apparent that he did not consider the project to be cost-effective due to the condition of our roofs and the fact that the state reimbursements were reduced significantly. It was at this point that we asked our architect to conduct a thorough assessment of our roofs. The report has been completed. We have asked our architect, George Duthie, to be present this evening and present the report. Mr. Duthie.
We can slide downstairs so we can make sure that is a little bit. Adjust your height.
Good evening, everyone, and following to what Vince said, my name is George Duthie. I'm a principal with Freight Tech, Vice Hopkins Duthie in Trenton, New Jersey. We're very fortunate to be the district's architects for quite a long period of time. Tonight I'm going to just go through a presentation, just give an overview and a flavor of the conditions of the roofs. As Vince said, we have been here and we did actually quite a thorough assessment of all the district buildings roofs, okay? So without further ado, talk about that. And today, we're just going to talk about each building, a summary of the costs, and why do we need it, and how do we get where we are. Thank you. Can everyone hear? Okay, great. I'm going to try to do this in the same time. So, we have a methodology. I'll talk a little bit about the actual assessment and the process and what the findings were. And the methodology was to do a detailed site visits, and we have an actual in-house professional roofing department with Roof Consultant Institute professionals who came and spent quite a bit of time on all of the buildings' roofs during the month of January. We were up on, unfortunately, the weather cooperated, and we were here for more than a week, I would say, looking at all the various different buildings. We looked at the roof warranty data because some of the roofs are under warranty, and there is some viable warranties on the roofs on some of the buildings. And we met with Mike Morris, the Director of Facilities, and his staff, and some of the custodians at the building to identify some of the trouble spots and some of the leaking areas. So, what do we want to do? As we move forward with the process, we want to evaluate all the actively leaking roofs. We want to look at all the roofs that are going to be out of warranty potentially within the next 5 years, because we want to make sure that we have those covered, okay, with any work that might need to be done for the foreseeable future. We want to evaluate roof drainage issues with things like ponding water. We have quite a bit of that now, and back when roofs were designed in that day, wasn't as much pitch as they put on roofs now to assure positive drainage. And we want to look at roof-related items, things like masonry walls, cast stone. You have some beautiful buildings here in Westfield, and skylights, things like that, as well as taking a look at some of those roofs that are under warranty and performing maintenance on those roofs and possibly identifying a need to have some warranty service done on those. So we'll be taking a look at those. So we went to the high school, and one of the prevalent roofing systems here, the district was involved in a system, which was not an uncommon system that was used by many school districts in New Jersey, by the way. It's called a sprayed polyurethane foam roof. That's what you see in yellow, except for it's supposed to have a top coating on it. But what happens is that coating wears away and exposes the foam down below. So when that happens, you begin to lose the integrity of that roof. Some of the district's buildings, in particular the high school, also Washington School, and we'll look at those, have one of those systems, and it's just worn out, okay? It's beyond its useful life. That needs to be attended to, because as that continues to deteriorate, you're already experiencing leaks now. That situation will just worsen over time. In fact, you can see we talked about in the bottom right-hand side the idea of roof drainage, and what they do in the foam is they just cut troughs to drain the water to the drains. So that's problematic, as you can imagine. So we identified a plan, and I know you can't read all this, and I do apologize, but we do have a detailed assessment report of the roofs. And basically, we've identified the areas, for example, on the high school, the areas marked with a 3. You did do an addition on the high school. You all know the 3-story science room addition on Trinity Place, as well as some other areas are covered under a warranty by C-Plast, okay, which is a very high-performing modified bitumen, SBS modified bitumen roofing system. So with that roof, very good system, and those roofs are in relatively good shape. We have other roofs, mostly marked with the 1s and the 2s that you see up on the plan, combination of single-ply membrane and also the foam that we discussed previously, that need to be replaced. Okay, they are beyond their useful life, and in many cases there are active leaks. So there is a scope of work for the high school, fairly detailed, just over $4 million for the high school. Okay, and that includes all of the elements that I previously identified in the goals. So the intermediate school, Edison Intermediate School, we have an existing built-up roof surface, also beyond its useful life. Okay, we have active leaks. We also have existing EPDM roofs, as you can see in the bottom left. That's a single-ply roofing system, which has had some repairs done to it, which have started to fail, and some other areas, again, beyond its useful life and requiring replacement. Also, one of the related items, upper left, the chimney, okay? So that we try to make sure that everything related to the roof, including the masonry walls, are taken care of at the same time to give you the integrity that you need in the project. So Edison School, primarily a full replacement of just about all the roof surfaces. We did, as Vince mentioned earlier, replace one of the roofs in 2010. Well, there will be no work there. And there is also some work on roof number 3 that will also just be preventative maintenance. Okay, that roof is relatively newer vintage, being only about 12 years old. So about $2.3 million worth of work at Edison. Roosevelt, nice older building. Very nice ornate work on this building. You can see some of the conditions, and again, the skylights, okay, some of the stone work and the cast work and the precast ornamental work will require a little bit of attention. And you can't, in the bottom left, hard to see from that photo, but all those areas, that's one of those spray foam roofs, also starting to deteriorate, okay? And again, active leaks in this building. So that's the extent of the work at Roosevelt, which is primarily replacement of all the roofing surfaces, except for, of course, on the library and cafeteria additions that were completed about 4 years ago. Okay? We have, again, one of the C-class roofs on that building. Expect that to last a long time. So about almost $1.673 million worth of work at Roosevelt. Franklin Elementary School, again, these are just some of those conditions we discussed earlier with the cast stone, window caulk, and things like that, which will also be addressed as part of the roofing. Here again, the key plan for the roof, a lot of shingle roofs on Franklin School. They'll also be attended to, although most of the shingle and slate are in fairly good condition. There's a few spots that need to be addressed. There is money for that. We also will do some preventative maintenance on some of the roofs. You can see roof number 3, which was the part of the building where we constructed the second story. That roof is in still fairly good condition, and again, we'll just get preventative maintenance done too. And about $463,000 worth of work at that building. Okay. Jefferson Elementary School, again, very similar conditions in terms of the chimney. And here you're seeing a built-up roof, an older vintage built-up roof, certainly beyond its useful life. Again, some active leaks on this building. So we will be doing a full replacement on Jefferson School, except for the shingle area of the newer addition was constructed around 1990 or so, on the end of the building. And those shingles will be, some maintenance work will be done on those shingles, and the related metal work. So for Jefferson, we are looking at about $1.26 million worth of work. Lincoln School, this is a full SPF roof, which has, begun to fail, and some repair work has been done to that roof. Lincoln School will require a full replacement of a C-class roof again, and some miscellaneous masonry work done that's related to the roofing system for a cost of about $358,000. McKinley, a lot of shingles on this building. What we'll see here is preventative maintenance on the shingle parts of the building, which are shown in the cross-hatching. Roof 1 will be preventative maintenance. Again, that was a roof that was put on the addition that was put on McKinley School also around, I guess that was around 1990. I think it was around 1990, 93. Yeah, 1993. And the high roof, which is actually nested in the shingle roof on roof number 2, will also be replaced, okay? Again, using C-plast. For a project total of $85,000. Tamaqua School. Now, Tamaqua is a larger building, as you, I'm sure, all know. Also has a roof that is pretty much failed. There are a lot of leaks at Tamaqua School. We have some old skylights that need to be tended to. Flat skylights, we don't use those anymore. They need to be replaced or roofed over. In some cases, they're not even being used anymore, and then they're just roofed over and the deck is infilled. And of course, you have to deal with some conditions on the walls. So all of Tamaqua School will be replaced for a cost of about $1,031,815. Washington, this is a example of a sprayed polyurethane foam roof that has failed. You can see in this picture, particularly in the bottom right, what the coating on the top of the roof used to look like. A top coat with stone, that's what they used to look like when the roof was finished. But you can see widespread failure, especially where you see the exposed foam on the right-hand side. And also, again, on the bottom left, you see the trough that's been kind of cut in for drainage again. And then on the upper left is a clear story condition at Washington School where they just kind of foam the walls in with the spray foam. So that would all be stripped off, and that condition will be fixed up into a nice weather-tight condition. So Washington School, that's the extent of the work. Again, replacement of all the spray foam areas and maintenance on the shingle areas, okay, which are in relatively good condition, for about just under $1.2 million, $1,180,960. Okay. Wanted to mention too that in this roofing system, we are looking at doing a high R value roof to save additional energy to the school. The roofing surface is one of the primary surfaces that loses heat in a building. So the goal is to enhance the R value of the roof and develop some energy savings in keeping with the district's overall philosophy of trying to conserve energy. This will be a big help towards that. So we're upgrading the insulation in this roof. Wilson Elementary School, again, a large portion of Wilson will remain mostly shingle areas. Okay, there is an area of old, what we call modified bitumen roof of unknown origin, not under warranty anymore, again some leaks, and that area will be replaced again with a C-plast roof, and the total amount of work at Wilson is about $367,000. Board of Education office building does require attention. Very important functions, of course, are conducted here, and it's very important that this building is, of course, intact and has integrity, waterproof integrity. You can see the skylight in the upper left-hand side photo. You can also see an example of some of the problems on that roof. It's an EPDM, single-ply roof. A lot of the seams have opened up, and that's what you see in that photo on the right. So we will be replacing the roof on the administration building with the exception of the small metal roof that's over the elevator lobby when you come in on the lowest level. We'll also be replacing the roof on the garage, on the maintenance garage next to the board office, for a cost of about $575,000. And last but not least, Kearler Stadium Fieldhouse. Number of issues there. Starting on the bottom left, that's the camera platform. That has walkway pads on it that are designed to work with that system. They have deteriorated, as you can clearly see. Rolled roofing, which has also begun to loosen up its seams, and water has entered the system on the top photo, and you can see some other conditions, flashing conditions and things where caulk was just placed in there in an attempt to stop some leaks. So we do have some leaks at Kearler Stadium. So we'll be replacing that, including a new walkway pad system on the camera platform, for about $226,000. Okay? So, what is the summary? Here are all the costs, school by school. Grand total, $13,567,026. That takes care of the pressing needs, all of the needs of the buildings and the roofs that are not presently covered under warranty in the district. How much roofing is that? 421,760 square feet, almost 10 football fields worth of roofing work. That's the need. Our prices are based on, by the way, doing a project by the summer of 2013, okay? And included in all these prices are the contingencies, the fees, and the related costs that go along with a project of this type. So, Section 3. Why do we need it? How did we get here? Some leaks and building damage photos. You should take a look at those. Why now and now versus later? So, how did we get here? Well, there was a previous roofing recovery project I discussed earlier, the sprayed polyurethane foam, which is beyond its useful life. Again, a system that was common in its day, beyond its life, and no longer viable. The past 3 years for school districts have been very, very trying times. I'm sure everyone reads the papers and already knows what's happened. But because of these issues, and included some very significant cuts and a lot of pain for school districts throughout the state, no resources were really available to address any of these projects in a meaningful way. So the district has been chasing leaks and trying to make repairs and been doing a very, very good job keeping up with everything. But there is damage to the building. You can see these are just some samples of some of the ideas, some of the buildings and some of the damage. All of the buildings basically have leaks in one place or another. Okay? So why now? Well, leaks and building damage are difficult to keep up with, okay? Adding to a sense of urgency and the need to do the work as the roofs deteriorate further, okay? Identifying and repairing the leaks and making immediate repairs to ceilings that are damaged and other finishes, because that's what the district does. They go and make these repairs right away, so you don't see those things usually because they're taken care of by Mike and his staff quickly. It consumes a lot of time, a lot of Mike's time, a lot of maintenance resources, and a lot of money, okay, to send those guys around fixing all of these things. So, replacing the roofs now will prevent further building damage and roofing deterioration, Construction costs are favorable now, okay? Contractors are still hungry for work. It is still a good time to do a roofing project. As the economy improves, it is expected to improve, we've all heard that anyway, construction costs are likely to increase. That is a prediction, and sometime in the next 2 years, we are going to start to see that upward spike, okay? What else? Well, replacing roofs now will require a bond issue if you're going to do, obviously, that magnitude of work. Replacing roofs over time will require a significant expenditure of scarce district capital funds, okay, over an extended period of time, of 15 years or more, okay? Additional funds will need to be expended to what we call chase leaks. Go around the district, find a leak, and have it repaired, okay? The funds that are used to chase the leaks and repair will not be able to be used for anything else, okay? A large district like Westfield is going to have a lot of other capital project needs because of the size, okay? And you want to keep your facilities nice. Westfield is obviously a wonderful school district. So, that being said, you want to have that capital money available for those types of projects so you can do an ongoing capital projects program. And the roofing is just too big to handle that way. Yeah. The cost of construction materials, especially petroleum-based products like roofing, is expected to continue to rise. We all know what's happening now to the price of petroleum, and the materials, believe it or not, that are used to make roofing are at the bottom of the barrel. They're so efficient now at refining oil into gasoline that the materials that used to be used for roofing have become more scarce because of the efficiency in refining. Okay, so something to just keep in mind as we go on. So. There's also no guarantee that capital funds will be available later on. We have to be aware of the ever-changing climate in New Jersey with school funding, okay? And although some people may say this year was a better year, there's no guarantees next year will be a better year. So we need to keep in mind that as there are fluctuations in state aid, it may have an effect on the amount of capital money available to you to do projects, okay? So that was a lot of stuff, and I hope I covered everything. Thank you.
Questions? Comments? I know I could say personally, I know we had spent a lot of time on the solar project, as Vince mentioned, and I think that was, while we were disappointed with the project results, I think the eye-opening thing was your report. Was that the condition of the roofs is just in such a state that developers wouldn't put solar panels on the roofs because it required 15 years of productive life, and we couldn't give any assurance, or they weren't comfortable that we had that kind of time frame. To the contrary, it was much, much shorter. So we clearly have a lot to think about as a board. I know we'll be talking to you further, both in the Facilities and Finance Committee, about what each of those paths you mentioned look like, whether a bond path or an annual path of renewal. But I think at least we have our arms around the magnitude of the problem and the needs by school in a detailed fashion.
I know it's in your project, but I can't read it because it's too little. But what's the average age of our roofs? Did you say that? Or,
The average age.
or does it, or a range? How about a range?
Well, I would say the range of the roofs are, that we're looking at now, I would say all of them, just about all of them are more than 20 years old. They are pre-1990 roofs, I would say. I went back and looked in our records to see which roofs our firm was involved in since the time we became the architect of record, and identified those, and found that none of these roofs before 1990, which was the day we became, actually 88, we were involved in. So in speaking with Mike, other than the foam roofs, okay, which we were not involved in, and a couple of other areas, none of those roofs have been replaced. So I'm comfortable saying that they're all more than 20 years old.
And the lifetime of a roof is?
The new system will have a 20-year warranty on it. Most of the C-Class roofs, and we've had some of our roofs now are more than 25 years old and are still in serviceable condition. They require some maintenance periodically. You do have to do preventive maintenance on roofs. But we would expect a roofing system with a warranty of 20 years to actually last longer than that if it's well maintained.
The question about the total estimate was 13.5.
Yes.
What's your confidence level that, if the taxpayer were to ask a question, in 2013, if we were to start the construction, you're fairly confident that that'll be the cost, it won't go into an overrun situation?
Yes. I'm confident that those numbers are accurate based on today's marketplace and anything we can reasonably foresee. We do a lot of roof every single year. I'm very confident with the prices. We find our estimates to usually be very, very good with roofing. So I'm very confident that the prices are going to be good. If anything, we try to be a little more on the conservative side rather than on the on the side to be shortchanged. We don't want that to happen.
Okay.
How long would it take if the board chose to do a one project, how long would it take?
The amount of time will vary by which building, obviously. It's a very ambitious amount of roofing work, and I would envision, a number of contractors working on it. And I think with a number of contractors working on it, it could be accomplished over the summer of 2013, provided, of course, you've got it out to bid, nice and early. We're able to get your prices in and get your materials ordered. I do think it can be done, probably with a group of 4 contractors. That's how I would envision it. The high school would, of course, be a very large project. Would be for one contractor to do and spend pretty much the whole summer on it. That's how I would envision that project being done.
Well, there are very few things that I would be in favor of bonding, but I think that we're never going to have $13.5 million to spend on roofs. And to do it over 15 years, I think is just problematic when we see that the roofs are really in need of repair. So I really do think that we should consider and look into floating a bond for this. I think that parents, once they realize that, the roofs are leaking, and there's so much repair work that has to be done to replace all of these tiles and everything, I'm sure, from your pictures, that it would be good to float a bond and just get it done. But my question is, has this gone through a bidding process, or are these, do we have to go through a bidding process? I mean, maybe this is a question for Vince. What are these costs based on?
Well, you do have to go through a competitive bidding process if the board chooses and the public chooses to do a bond issue. After that passes and the design work is done, obviously you'll go out for a competitive bidding process. Because of the number of projects we bid, we see these types of costs, fairly regularly in terms of, the way the estimates were done for the methodology for the estimating for the projects. So the answer is you would do a competitive process.
I see. So these are estimates.
Well, these are estimates at this time, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And one thing you said that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Conservative estimates.
Conservative.
Yeah.
Conservative.
Yeah. Well, when I say I mean, we try to err on the side of making sure that there is going to be, enough money to do the project. Because at this point in the project, this early in the stage, we have to base this on, what we know that project would cost in today's dollars, and based on our bidding experience on projects of similar size, okay? Because you've got a lot of roofing work here, so you have the benefit of an economy of scale, okay? Because of the large amount of roofing that you're doing, you're gonna get more favorable prices than someone who's going to be doing a smaller project, for example. So we've taken that into account in the estimating that we've done, and we've tried to do a little bit of escalation to predict what could happen next year. We've all seen the price of gasoline lately, right? So we've looked at putting a factor in there for escalation for next year also.
So these are, when you say they're conservative, it really means they're a little bit higher than you think it might come in? Is that
The
what you're
estimates
saying?
are higher than we think they'll come in,
I
yes.
see, okay.
Yes.
And one other question, which I know you said, but I didn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
So the roofs now are spray foam, which obviously was
A lot of them are.
not
Yes.
a good product. And so you're recommending we use what?
You're using a two-ply system. It's C-Plast. It's a Paradigm system. It's a SBS modified bitumen roof that we've used in many, many places. And we had a meeting. I showed some samples of the materials. but it is a much different system. The spray system is the foam system is something that's sprayed on the old roof surface. This will be an actual replacement of the roof down to the deck. Okay, all new insulation, and then you will do a combination of a mechanically fastened and a glued down system, okay, with asphalt. So this is a built-up roof in effect. It's a built-up roof.
So a superior roof.
Very superior.
Okay, thank you.
This may be a question for Mr. Yanero. Historically, there's been some programs with the state to help with funding for capital projects. Can you kind of elaborate on that? Because I think I understand that that's not available to us now.
No. Right now, I guess it's been maybe 3 years, 2 years, 2 to 3 years. There has been no funding. At one time, well, a number of years ago, there were 40% grants available. And then it became debt service state aid, presumably at 40%, but it depended on the level of funding each year. But that has not been available for a few years.
Yep.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. There used to be, well, not used to be, there is a law in New Jersey that says that school districts are entitled to a contribution from the state. The law was passed in 2000 in the form of debt service aid, and I think some of your projects here may have taken advantage of that. But there was a new governor administration who came in and basically, with the power given to him by the Constitution for executive orders, suspended non-essential state funding when he came into office. And that executive order still remains in place, and therefore debt service aid projects are not being approved at this time by the Department of Education. The second program, which is the regular operating district ROD grant program, which Vince alluded to, has stopped accepting applications and is not approving any projects at this time. It was based on some bonds that the state sold initially in 2008 with the Chapter 35 reforms that were made, I guess the CFA law, the Educational Facilities Financing Construction Act. But that money right now is not being made available. It may be expended. The state has been mum on whether or not they're going to make those grants available again. Right now, they're not available. Okay. I mean, if they do become available, that's obviously something you're going to want to look at doing. But that doesn't seem to be the case right now, as far as we know.
Yes, George, just, I know we can see it in our reports here, but I don't know if folks can see it at all. This includes removal of all roofs at all
Oh, yes,
buildings.
down to the deck, down to the deck.
Thank you.
That's all right, go ahead.
I'm wondering, and I don't know really anything about roofing, but we got here through our solar exploration. And because that was not viable because of our roof situation and because the rebates from the state have changed, is there a way to put in new roofs that are solar ready, or are all roofs solar ready? Or are there some things you need to do to prepare a roof if in the future we wanted to try solar again, if the rebates were to change in our favor?
The system will be solar ready.
Okay.
You'll be ready to go.
Is there any way, and again, I know nothing about roofs as well, but is there any way to estimate or quantify what our energy savings will be once the new roofs are put on?
Well, the problem is, we don't really know what your existing roofs are like, although we think they're probably at this point not very good. You could run a scientific calculation that would tell you, with that type of roof and the certain level of insulation, how much gas or electricity theoretically you would consume. But there's other factors that would go into that equation that are sort of unknowns. So it's difficult to quantify. But we could probably come up with like a ballpark idea if we just compared what you have now, which is probably almost zero in terms of insulation, to what you would have in the new system.
But I have to assume, based on your expert opinion, it would be significant savings, correct?
Absolutely significant, yes.
And did we reap any benefit from those roofs that were still under warranty? Are we going to get are those the roofs that you're doing the preventative maintenance on, so we're getting some benefit from the warranty that's still in place, or?
Well, those roofs have have that level of insulation, not the R30, but they do have the insulation that was, at that time, may have been R15. I'd have to go back and check. But you did enjoy some benefits from redoing those roofs also now in the high school science wing. Obviously, that wasn't built, but, and you increased the footprint of the high school. But there are no other significant re-roofed areas on the building, right?
That's what you asked.
Right, I'm just
Is that
wondering.
the question? Yeah.
In terms of estimating our cost to replace the roofs.
Right.
I guess I'm wondering, did we benefit? Are we getting any money back by virtue of repairing those roofs that were under warranty?
Well, indirectly, you'll save money on gas and electricity, there's no question, but you can't, it's hard to quantify, what that's going to be. I mean, we could do,
Can I
as I
try?
said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I try?
Yeah, try the question. Yeah. I'm not answering it
There
right, I
are
can tell.
roofs under warranty.
Yes.
Are there any roofs that we're going to replace that are under warranty? And because they're under warranty, do we have any recourse to go into the, either the manufacturer or the person that put them in to get some reimbursement?
Thank you.
Oh, no, we're not replacing any of the roofs that are under warranty.
Okay.
Okay,
That was
sorry.
the question.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, I needed my translator. I appreciate it.
Sorry I didn't answer that correctly.
But related to the insulation question, you are specifying a better level, thicker insulation, which will result in more energy savings.
Yes.
Anyone else? All right, well, we look forward to more
Okay.
details. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good presentation, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I had mentioned that this was a multifaceted facility report this evening. On a smaller scale, but also certainly important, we have the weight room at Westfield High School. Another area where, an area that was in need of improvement. And in this case, we've had people from our school community who have stepped forward to try to address that problem. And so I believe I'm going to first introduce Sandy Memory to talk about this. And also, she'll be introducing someone else, I think. Want me to just work this, or you want to? Okay, great, got it.
Good evening, everyone. Our project manager, Steve Simcox, is going to... I figured that might be the best name appropriate for him right now. So the project manager, Steve Simcox, and I had a few goals in mind for the Westfield High School Fitness Center. To make sure that it is an ability-friendly facility. An ability-friendly facility. Make sure it is accessible to all 1,850 students. To provide an environment to promote a healthy lifestyle. Give our student athletes the necessary tools to attain their athletic potential. Include the Westfield community. We have members of the Westfield Booster Association in the audience. We have our certified athletic trainer in the audience, and some student athletes that'll give us some input later. We decided that the renovation plan will be in 3 phases. And the first phase is the strength and conditioning equipment by Cybex International. The second phase is the cardio equipment provided by Precor. And the third, and my favorite phase, is the aesthetics to make it look attractive. The physical education department has a very large need for this kind of facility, since every single student in our high school will reap the benefits of this. It is part of the core curriculum standards, and our students will have exposure to a lifelong fitness program. The athletic department. This will enable our student athletes the opportunity to enhance their athletic competition. This will ensure strength and conditioning of our student athletes to decrease fatigue and decrease a chance for potential injury. Our coaching staff is very committed. Our coaches will supervise our student athletes and make a schedule if it's needed. Our coaches will utilize a strength and conditioning program that is developed by our own certified athletic trainer, Chris Flores. The coach will also establish a relationship with the student athlete outside of the sport to define work ethic, desire, and passion of the student athlete. We also have a representative from Cybex International who is coming to give us an orientation to the Westfield High School phys ed teachers and coaching staff. Our phys ed teachers and our coaches will be able to introduce the equipment to our students and our student athletes. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Steve Simcox and our slideshow.
Thanks, Andy. So I'm going to briefly take you through the presentation that we made to the committee, to the community when we went out and talked to them about getting some energy and some enthusiasm behind this this endeavor. Nothing happens in life until somebody gets enthusiastic about something, and Sandy got very enthusiastic when we started talking a little bit about maybe we could make some changes. And over the last 5 months, that enthusiasm led to 2 truckloads of equipment being delivered last Wednesday. So we're going to show you some pictures of what happened. But I first want to take you through the presentation that we made to the community, we made to concerned parents, and we made to the associations of which the boosters are here tonight. So one of the things that you know about Westfield and the athletes and the students, they will work hard if given the tools. And when you look at sports in Westfield, I happen to be a Princeton graduate, and there's a big game tonight, Princeton-Penn, and I came here tonight.
Thank you very much.
Princeton's winning with 2 minutes left in the game. But the idea is that at Westfield we need to be both smart and strong, and given the proper tools, we can do that. So the current situation, and current as of February 28th, we had a weight room that had a tremendous amount of usage, even though it was abysmal. And abysmal is probably an understatement. The room is of great size. I'm going to show you some pictures. Pictures will tell you all you need to know. The last update was in 1995. What I understand was Health Club went out of business, and their used equipment was bought and put into the facility. Of the equipment that was present, a lot of it was broken. It was in bad disrepair. That's about all you can say. And it wasn't a place that kids wanted to go. Particularly, I think some of the female students, it was just an unfriendly place. That has changed. So as Sandy talked about the opportunity of what we could do, what was possible, to give every student at the high school the opportunity, to actually provide an opportunity to improve the performance of our athletes on the field of play. It's not nets, it's not balls, it is absolutely the opportunity to get stronger and mentally be stronger. So at the time when we were talking about this for the last 5 months, we said we wanted to get an order initiated, and we wanted to get the equipment by the end of February. And we got it delivered on February 29th, the first order. So let's take a look at the usage of the athletes who compete. And this was through the fall, and then the numbers from last year. And you can see that when you take into account club sports, we have almost 47% of the population participating at some level for Westfield High School, which is a tremendous number, by the way. So what did it used to look like? In this big room, there was one squat rack, which just, by the way, just doesn't get it done anyplace. There was a cable row machine. I'm being a little facetious and mocking what was in there, but that's what it was. And these pictures are, I'd like to say Photoshop, but they're not. And there was a lot of broken equipment in there. More broken equipment than actually usable equipment. And fortunately, we've been able to take that out and get it destroyed and clean the room up. And then we had, a couple of pieces of equipment that were usable. The picture on the right, that machine is over 25 years old. and then some of the best cardio equipment you've ever seen from 1994. It was unusable. The electronics didn't work, and it was, Chris, I think you could agree that it's abysmal. And then this was the best part. Coach Kaler's, one of his aides from 1965 said, I was there when those barbells went in. They were rusty, and guys, you can agree, they were not, other than weighing 25 pounds, they were not very usable. About this time when we started, Sandy got excited, we looked at, there was an article that came out in the paper about Summit High School, and they just hired a new coach in 2006, at the end of 2006. And the first thing that happened when that coach showed up was there was the boosters had, and the town, the community, and the school district had put in a new weight room. And there are fortunes on the field. And I think Summit's a town a lot like our town in terms of the athletes, in terms of how smart the kids are. And lo and behold, things changed. Now, this was not a scientific study with a regression analysis, but is it a coincidence or not? And I can tell you our coach is 5 times better than their coach. So what Sandy did was she went to all of the coaches, and there's not enough room on the slide to list all the coaches who wrote letters, but she made this a priority. And so making it a priority for the coaches, making it a priority for the kids, and then making it a priority for the community. So we went out and we made this presentation, as you see. Said these are examples of the equipment that we're going to put into the room. It's equipment that's going to be ability friendly. I think that's the right word. It's going to be gender friendly. And most importantly, it's going to give our athletes and our students the tools to participate at the level of which they want to participate. Here was the ask that we made of the community. We started with a $25,000 commitment from private donors, which has been achieved. And then we went out and we talked to the groups in town and asked them for money. And what we needed was $150,000 plus to make this room work. Now, one of the first places we went to the Westfield Lacrosse Club. They were in. We went to the Westfield Baseball Club. They were in. And then we went to the Boosters, an organization that's been in this town for over 50 years. I've been a booster for about 8 weeks at the time we started this.
Coincidence?
And I can tell you that Mike Helfand and Gary Fox and Frank Fortino and the group, they did a great job by saying, we're in, these are the type of projects we want to run for this town and our school, and they committed $50,000, which was awesome. And so we're here today to tell you and say, and a part of a private-public participation, we'd like some participation from the school board. Let me show you what happened on the 29th. We went from abysmal to almost awesome. You can see the bench and squat platforms, there are 5 of them. There's a wide-angle view of the room. We were there until late on Wednesday night. The coaches that came in there, and the excitement of the janitors was inspiring. And then the excitement of the coaches. Then the next morning when the kids started coming in, it was well worth 5 months of effort. And just to see the look on Sandy's face was priceless. If you look at, we put in the new barbells and new machines. If we go one more, you can see some of the ability friendly machines. And one more. And, that is what it looks like today. There are still pieces of equipment we need to get in there. All of the cardio equipment, some of the aesthetics. There's some mirrors, some painting, some other things. But we're close to getting what we sought to get 5+ months ago. I'm going to turn it back over. That's the story part of the presentation. I'm going to turn it back over to Sandy. Thank you.
So now you know why I'm so excited about this. There is nothing, not a greater feeling to be in that room, to watch the physical education classes walk into that equipment. The looks on those kids' faces was breathtaking. And I knew right then and there that this was just more than than a healthy lifestyle and athletics. This was really going to change some kids. And the very first phys ed student that I walked over was a very shy girl, and she's not an athlete. And I asked her, she was on one of the machines actually doing a bench press. I said, "What are you doing?" She said, "Well, I don't know. Never did this before in my life." And I said, "So what do you think?" She said, "Well, I didn't have to ask anyone to come and help me. And I never thought that I would enjoy doing this." That's what makes all this really, really worthwhile. But I'm going to turn it over to these 4 students, and they're going to really give you 4 more testaments about how exciting this is. Alexis Cardius, Jenna Helfand, and Chris Sweeney, and David Kane.
So we want to thank you for having us here first to start off. And we also want to talk about the weight room at Kelly Stadium and how it is the equipment there is outdated and it's next to not usable. I would come home from the summer workouts and have rust all over my shirts, and I would have to throw them out because you couldn't wash them. Also, it's like with the new equipment that if we get for Kelly, we'd be able to build for the future. And as you can see, we just had a great football season. And if we keep getting, if we get more equipment, maybe we could finish it next time and go all the way. Some health benefits. It helps our self-confidence, knowing that when we're lifting, it helps our self-esteem, gets us confident, gets us feeling better about ourselves, and it makes us have healthier choices for ourselves, which is very key. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Alexis.
Hello. As a 3-sport athlete that wants to play in college, I understand that it is vital for me to train my body and prepare myself for the hardship to come. In order to have the ability to compete at such an intense level of play, I must have the physical confidence to be on the field. Training in the weight room as a team allows for team bonding and unity. The other day, the lacrosse team and I were in the weight room, and although off the field, still competing to improve and get stronger. Westfield plays the best schools in the state in all sports. We need to be the best equipment so we can compete with them on and off the playing field. Here's Jenna.
As well as what Alexis said, being a 3-sport athlete, not only does the lifting and working out improve our performances, but it helps us to prevent our injuries. It is especially important for high school athletes, especially me and Alexis being female athletes, who are always at risk of getting injured during rough practices and games, to work on becoming stronger. With more strength and muscle, it becomes harder for an opponent to knock you down or fall, which could lead to injury, especially a head injury. Building strength through lifting and conditionings helps both my teammates and me stay healthy throughout the seasons, something female athletes like me and Alexis weren't able to do at our old facilities.
What Dave was saying before about the weight room at Kaler, it's pretty much what the old one here looks like. It's all the stuff's old and outdated, and was basically the same equipment that was there. It's just in a different place. So there's definitely still more work that needs to be done, including in there. But it's definitely a great start, and it looks pretty amazing compared to what it used to look like. And I appreciate, I'm sure all the kids appreciate that all the funding not only comes from the boosters and other parents, but that it comes from education, the Board of Education. They not only care about academics, but they care about athletics too, and I think it means a lot to the whole community.
You can read it.
Okay. I guess at this point, I could ask any questions if anyone has any. Yeah.
I'm sure you had a supervision schedule, even with the lack of use. Can you give us a little bit about, I know when teams are in there, the coach will probably be with them. When there's gym time, the PE will be there. But
Exactly.
I'm sure there's going to be free time for students to use the equipment. What's that going to look like from a supervisory standpoint?
There is some free time available. When, I think yesterday, Dr. Dolan and Mr. Unero came in, and at that time, one of our coaches was in there with their own team. and other students and other athletes asked if they could come in at that time, and Mr. Palmieri was fine with that. And so the coaches know that these things are going to happen, that they're not going to just go in there for their own student athletes, that once they're in that facility, they're going to be able to handle an appropriate number in there. What if a coach is not going in there? There's probably going to be a schedule so that everybody knows when it's going to be open. And there's also intramural positions that are available at the high school after school, and they are employed. It's a stipend, actually.
Okay.
And so there will be a schedule up for that.
So, as facilities chair, I feel like I have a lot of thank yous. This was an initiative identifying a need in the district, and you have made extraordinary efforts and outreach, and it is very much greatly appreciated. And thank you to the groups that you've gone out to and their contributions. And also, I know that our maintenance has helped to make the room to where it is and put in a lot of hard work, and thank you to them as well, because I think that really adds the additional bonus there, and just hauling out the equipment, I can't imagine I could probably lift one of those things.
Yes.
I think what's so wonderful about this fitness center is that it not only meets the needs of our athletes, but also our really our entire high school population, and not just our students that are there today, but the many more that are due to come through. And you know, one of the key pieces for me, because we did hear this in facilities, was the preventive of injuries for not just our athletes, but also our students. You know, I can imagine one of the greatest potential injuries is even misusing of an equipment and wanting to go and work out on your own and really not knowing how to. And this will really provide a foundation for all students and give them the courage and the strength and a healthier lifestyle, which is really the end result. The Facilities Committee has met, and we would like to move forward a recommendation to the full board to consider making a contribution to completing this project. We know you have put so much work and effort and raised quite a bit of money, and we think it too would be an important final cap for your hard work. Facilities and Finance will be meeting this Thursday, and maybe we can discuss where you are and what it looks like the final needs would be for your projects.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much. That was great.
What's next? Thanks, guys.
Uses that room, right? It's part of the gym. Classes use that room. Good job.
Thank you so much, that was great.
Take care of it. Stay safe.
Last time I saw him, he was about 4 years old, and he was like sleeping under the kitchen table. I was looking at him, I was saying, Chris.
All right. Anything else on the superintendent's report?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. We'll go into personnel. Jane.
Good evening. No, At this time, I would like to make a motion to ask for the board's approval of personnel items number 1 through 11.
Second.
Questions, discussion?
Are you going to add?
I think we're, no, that's, ready to review, anything to add, right?
I don't.
Okay, I think we can vote.
Good. Mrs. Clancy?
Yes.
Mr. Finn?
Yes.
Mr. Matesic?
Yes.
Ms. Carey?
Yes.
Mr. Friedman?
Yes.
Ms. Kerstad?
Yes.
Mrs. Lights?
Yes.
Mrs. Olig?
Yes.
All right. That brings us to facilities. Jane, anything else?
We'll see y'all at our meeting Thursday night at 7.
All right. Long-range planning. Ginny?
Long-range planning will be meeting March
12th, Monday, March 12th. We had to reschedule our meeting that was planned for the 1st.
All right, policies.
Okay, I move to approve for first reading the following policies. And for the, do I have to read them all off?
Whatever you want.
Sure.
1220, employment of chief school administrator. 1230, superintendent's duties. 1530, equal employment opportunities. 6230, budget hearing. 6470, payment of claims. And 7410, maintenance and repair.
Second.
I'd like to have just a little discussion about some of them.
Sure.
Let's see. In 1530, I would, in that motion on page 2 of 2, it says, the first line, the board shall not enter into or maintain any contracts with a person, agency, or organization. And I would like to add the word knowingly. So I would like us in the motion to include the word knowingly.
So that's the last paragraph on the first page?
No,
Yes.
the first paragraph on the second page.
Ew.
The board shall not knowingly enter into.
Right, it depends on which version you have of it.
Oh.
You have the.
The strike-through
The strike-through, et
version.
cetera, yes.
okay.
The strike-through version.
But on the version others have, it is the bottom of page 1, as Dave mentioned, yes.
And then I would like to, on 64-7, payment of claims, on mine it's page 33. First red paragraph, that starts with, all claims will be submitted for board review.
Which is the
What page are you on?
penultimate on page 2. The penultimate paragraph on page 2. You have her version, so you should listen to Roseanne, not
The
me.
top, the first paragraph on page 3. I would like to strike, the list of claims must be accompanied by the original records that include copies of the purchase order, the receiving report, the vendor's invoice, and the purchase requisition.
Could you give an explanation of why you're striking that, please?
Yes, because we have all of that information in the business office. It is the business administrator's job to keep that. And if the board had to see all of that paperwork for every claim, it is not only a waste of paper, it's just redundant.
That was in the
I would agree.
original policy. I guess we never followed that.
Correct.
Or it was determined that it...
No, it wasn't. It used to say must be supported by. This says must be accompanied by. Somehow the words changed, so to me, accompanied would mean it's got to be there.
Well, maybe we should leave it as supported, though. Right.
Could do that.
Okay.
That's fine.
I would think we would still want the same level of supported to authenticate
Absolutely.
the claim.
That was my comment.
Those are all your comments? Okay. Number 1220?
Yep.
Yes.
Page 4 on the red example. This has to do with the employment of the chief school administrator. There are two, the third and fourth paragraph, there are two explanations of, in the event of a superintendent vacancy.
Right.
In this first paragraph, at the expiration of existing contract, and then the second, prior to the expiration.
Right.
I couldn't figure out what the difference was in terms of the sitting board making the decision of approving an employment contract I mapped it out. I don't get it. Did you read through it and study it?
We read through it. It was my understanding that they are just delineated separately because they are two different ways to get at a vacancy.
I just didn't understand why they were separately distinguished. It seems to me, all it's saying to me is at the time of the
Yes, the
vacancy,
sitting
the
board.
sitting board at the time of the vacancy has the prerogative of the voting. Am I missing something?
No, that's my understanding of it as well.
It just spells out the two options, though, or the two
Well,
ways it can happen.
Yeah. I didn't see any value in the explanation, but that's okay.
Well, it's kind of interesting. The first one says only the board.
I understand that, and I don't know why. And this came from Strauss Esme?
Yes.
So, yeah, why does one explanation have only the board and the other one has the board seated at the time? Just,
I would imagine those are particularly important depending on when somebody is leaving versus when a new board is seated. And I bet you there are specific cases where that has been an issue, and that's why it's delineated like that.
I understand. I'm under the assumption that the expiration of the contract would be June 30th.
Yes, in general they are.
Right. But it doesn't have to be, right?
I think at this point it does, yes.
I don't know that we can.
At this point, it has to be June 30th.
Strike a
yes.
contract other than to June 30th.
Yes.
The only implies that there is some other mechanism for a new superintendent being appointed in the event that there's a vacancy prior to the expiration of the existing contract. Is there any other mechanism other than the board
No.
appointing and approving?
Right, again, I think it is more the timing of it, right?
Well,
So if a board is going to change, there have been court cases I know that I've read that talk about a disagreement as to the board before it
I understand.
before it disbands or the new seated board, so that's why it's so specific. Who has the power at the exact timing?
well, could I suggest that we table this so that we can have a conversation with our labor attorney to tell us?
Sure.
To interpret this for us? Because I
that's
still
good.
have not figured out what this means and why it's expressed in two
Well,
different ways.
lucky enough, we have our labor attorney in our audience. Would you like to see this, or?
Do you want me to respond?
Yes, that would
Absolutely.
be great. Mr. Phil Stern?
Yes, this is Phil.
Do you want a copy?
Good evening. No, thank you.
You have it memorized.
The reference to the timing is based upon a case out of Elizabeth called Gonzalez versus Elizabeth, which stated that only the board that is seated at the time the superintendent will, or the vacancy will actually be in effect, is the board that can hire the superintendent of schools. And I think what Strauss Esme is doing is presenting you with variations of language that is just paraphrasing that legal standard. As far as the June 30th date, 18A requires that superintendent's contracts may begin at any time based upon the vacancy, but they must end within a 3 to 5 year period on June 30th of the final year of the contract.
I have a question while you're up there.
Sure.
Also in this document, it says the superintendent shall devote himself or herself exclusively to the duties of the office. Since this has gone to the full board, somebody has questioned what exclusively means and what that means.
It's a good question. And the reason I say it's a good question is because I think ultimately what it means is that the expectation of the board and the school community is that when they hire a superintendent of schools, they can count on the fact that the superintendent of schools will be exclusively employed by that board and just doing that. I think if implicit in your question is whether or not superintendents of schools may, for example, lecture, do things consult, moonlight, if you will.
Right.
I've never known, excuse me, that phrase in a superintendent's contract about exclusively devoted to prohibit a superintendent of schools from engaging in outside activities as long as it does not compromise the ability of the superintendent to fulfill her functions.
So you were comfortable with this wording as is, that it was fair?
Yes, yes. I had an opportunity to look at the policy. And what's interesting about the policy, actually, and what we're seeing more and more from Strauss Esme, is that there is, in fact, less and less discretion on the part of boards of education with regard to content of contract, perhaps money spent, and what you're seeing in this policy is really a chapter and verse of both the case law and the statutory requirements under 18A governing a superintendent's contract.
So you would suggest we keep that sentence in?
The exclusive, sure,
And
sure.
then keep the two different paragraphs?
Sure. I mean, if we want to get, just for the public's edification, if we wanted to get specific about questions and issues, I think that would be more appropriate, given the attorney-client privilege issue about specific stuff. But as a general proposition, I think it helps spell out the expectations of a Board of Education with regard to that.
Great, thanks.
Okay. Before we move on, I saw one other thing, and it may not be important, but there's a strike-through of number 5, solicitation of applications from a wide geographical area. But when you look on page 3, it says the board will undertake a nationwide search for applicants.
Right.
Was there a reason for the strike-through that would cause that to change, or?
I think, no, we struck the 5.
Yeah.
Because that
Because
was
of
in
the-
our old policy, and since it was listed here with the
Okay.
national search.
All right, so in
Didn't
striking
think it
that, we don't
needed-
need to strike this?
Right.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
didn't
I
need
think it
to
was the other way
double do
around.
it.
But you struck 5 because it's new, but we
Because it's
already had
already
it.
there.
We had it in the paragraph.
Got it.
in the
I just
narrative.
wanted to make sure it wasn't old, whatever. Yes, thank
Right.
you.
Okay. Are we done on 12:20? On 12:30, which is called Superintendent's Duties. On page 2 of 5, item number B5, report to the Commissioner and the County Superintendent. Should that not be Executive County Superintendent?
Certainly. Except they're going to change the title again, but...
That's all right.
But for the time being,
We're
we'll be
approving it
good.
today where we have an Executive County Superintendent. And there's another occurrence of that. On 6230, budget hearing.
Yep.
Same thing. Budget is
Yeah.
approved by the Executive County Superintendent. On 6470, it's called payment of claims. So the source of the changes is also Strauss Esme. It looked to be, they were striking through what we had and replacing it with what they recommend in a number of cases. I wasn't quite sure why you chose to do that, but like the first paragraph you're replacing, but it's
Because
exactly the same.
Because it was easier to document the changes, doing it that way.
Okay. At the final page of 3 of 3 on the policy itself. Oh, we were just there. Yes, the final sentence. All warrants must be signed by the president, board secretary, and treasurer of school monies. Could we specify that the president is the president of the Board of Education?
Which one?
I'd rather have
As
Obama
opposed to
sign.
the president of some other organization?
Sure.
Thank you. That's it?
Yeah, anyone else?
Any other discussion? So we're tabling 12.1?
No, I guess not.
No.
Okay.
I think we're all right.
Ms. Kerstad?
Yes.
Mrs. Olig?
Yes.
Mr. Matesic?
Yes.
Mr. Finn?
Yes.
Ms. Carey?
Yes.
Mrs. Clancy?
Yes.
Mr. Friedman?
Yes.
Mrs. Lights?
Yes.
I move that the board affirms the superintendent's decision on table.
Actually, I thought we were, we need a private session first.
Oh, okay. Okay.
All right. Anything else under policies?
That's all.
All right. Curriculum, instruction, and programs. Ann?
Okay, I would ask the board to approve for first reading the following curricula under industrial arts robotics. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. This is a one-semester elective course. It's a new course that will be offered to students in grade 8. Robotics is one of 3 electives offered in the Technology, Engineering, and Design Department, and its inclusion in the curricula enhances the district's offerings in science, technology, engineering, and math, otherwise known as STEM. In this hands-on project-based course, students will learn basic robotics, develop high-order thinking skills, and exercise logic, and be introduced to levers and linkages, sensors, inputs and outputs, mechanical advantage, measurement ratios, and proportion. There is a one-time cost of $51,000, which I think is included in the current year's budget.
It
that
is.
correct?
It is. If you remember, when we received some additional money from the state in the summer,
Right.
and I had asked at that point, I knew one of our goals this year was STEM, to work on STEM, and asked for some money so that we could start both this program and some other programs regarding STEM, which, by the way, we'll be hearing a little bit more about at coming board meetings. But that's why we put that money aside, which will allow us to start this new program. So, and we're very excited about it.
But it is a one-time cost. It's
Yes.
not a recurring cost
That's
for every
correct.
year or anything. And the SIP committee is hoping that this is a foundation that will be built upon in the high school. Because
Right.
right now, this is 8th grade, and it's really the only engineering course
Right.
that we offer, and we're hoping to continue that into the high school.
Exactly, and we've been working on planning ahead for it, so that it can grow. We'll start with the 8th graders, but so that it can grow going forward. Absolutely, it's, we heard about this in strategic plan, we heard from community members, and I couldn't agree more. It's an area that is important in the future, and we need to have our kids have those experiences while they're here with us before they go off. So we're very excited about this.
Great. Okay, any other questions or comments from the board?
Just a quick question. I didn't realize there was that monetary amount. So that would imply there's equipment and things, right?
Well, most of the equipment, they're actual Lego sets, which kids use to build robots with, and all the internal wires and whatnot. But, you know, at the end of the course, they tear the Legos apart and then use them for the next group. So they're expensive kits.
Okay, and they'll be at both of the middle schools?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, both of the middle schools.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, I guess we can vote on that then for first reading.
Ms. Carey?
Yes.
Ms. Kerstad?
Yes.
Mr. Matesic?
Yes.
Mr. Finn?
Yes.
Mrs. Clancy?
Yes.
Mr. Friedman?
Yes.
Mrs. Lights?
Yes.
Mrs. Olig?
Yes.
All right, that brings us to finance. There are no items on the finance agenda tonight. I would again thank the Westfield Theater Guild for their gift earlier this evening, their donation to the schools. It's always appreciated. We do have a finance meeting Thursday night, as you heard a few times mentioned during the meeting, and we'll report back next week on that. With that, there are no notes for the record. Legislation.
There's no report at this time.
Unfinished business. New business. Ad hoc committee reports. Ginny.
Yes, I'd like to report for the Ad hoc Technology Committee. We'd like to schedule a meeting March 21st, Wednesday morning, 8 a.m., to continue work on next steps for our technology initiative.
All right. Any other ad hoc committee reports? Okay, liaison reports? Jen?
I attended the PTC President's Meeting March 1st. We are thankful that Brian Auker was able to give a presentation on the technology initiative. It was followed by lively discussion about funds that had been raised previously by the PTC Technology Group. They are still under discussion as to the appropriate way to allocate those funds.
Mitch and I attended the high school PTSO meeting last week where Paul Panera spoke with the parents there about his work as the Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction, and the Balance Committee reported what they've been working on throughout the year.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other reports? All right. At this time, then, we will recognize the public for questions or comments. Seeing no one, I'd ask the board approve the following resolutions. Be it resolved that the Board of Education move into private session for the purposes of discussing personnel, litigation, or negotiations. And be it further resolved that any discussions held by the board, which need not remain confidential, and the results of the discussions will be made public as soon as practicable. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None.
Second.
We're adjourned.